Governor Rick Scott signed a sweeping election reform law this week that will cut early voting days nearly in half and impose other voting restrictions. Supporters say the law will prevent fraud, but voters' rights groups, including the League of Women Voters, say it's a blatant attempt to suppress voting. Early voting will go from 15 days to 8 days under the new law, but because the counties have the option of staying open longer, the number of early voting hours could remain the same. But it's the new restrictions on voter registration groups that has caused the most uproar.
It is an attempt to fix a problem that doesn't exist. We do not have voter fraud in Florida.
The League of Women Voters announced they will stop registering voters in Florida after 7 decades because the law subjects their volunteers to steep fines if they don't return registration forms within 48 hours. That's down from 10 days under the previous law.
So the state board said they could not put our volunteers, we're all volunteers, our volunteers at risk.
The new Republican-backed law also ends a long-standing policy of letting voters who've moved out of the county to update their new addresses at the polls. They'll be issued provisional ballots that are often not counted.
It's going to increase the chances that people's votes will actually be thrown out once they do vote. It's a bad bill. It's going to hurt voters. It's going to make it harder to vote.
Governor Rick Scott signed the bill despite a flood of opposing calls and emails. He hasn't commented on his decision, but the state's top election chief is supporting the reforms.
I believe that when you start looking at the details of the bill, it doesn't negatively impact Florida voters. Where the impact is, I believe it's justified.
To protect minority voting rights, the U.S. Justice Department must approve any change in Florida election law in 5 Florida counties. They are Collier, Hardee, Hendry, Hillsborough, and Monroe counties. As a result, Florida's new election reforms will not go into effect in those counties unless and until the law is cleared by the federal government.